I unexpectedly presented as an Omega, exactly the type my brother despised the most. So I had no choice but to keep it from him. Until I secretly started dating someone who had the exact same name as him. At my brother's birthday party, I entered my heat. Someone took me away and held me close. In the haze, I vaguely called out my boyfriend's name. Desperate to be marked. He gripped my chin, forcing me to look at him, and said, "Mason, open your eyes and look carefully. Say my name right, and I'll give you a kiss as a reward." 1. I was adopted into the family. And fate decided to play a cruel joke. I fell in love with my brother. Worse, I unexpectedly differentiated into the very thing he hated most, an Omega. Why? Because when he had just presented as an Alpha, he was nearly cornered and pinned by an Omega during their heat. Since then, he'd always say things like, "Good thing you're not one of those gross Omegas. Mason, you're my favorite." The doctor said I had a weak constitution, prone to pseudo-heats. For days I'd been running a fever. And chances were, I was truly about to go into heat. Unfortunately, the last heat suppressant at home was used up. And it just so happened to be on the day of my brother's birthday party. Those pills are addictive and strictly controlled by hospitals. Not something you can just pick up. Still, I convinced myself it was just another false alarm. I could get through the day. Then my brother called me. "Mason, I'm waiting for you." His voice on the phone was soft, tender, and full of affection. My mind drifted. My mouth moved faster than my brain. And I blurted out, "Okay, big brother. I'll be quick. I promise I'll be there on time for your birthday party." His voice was beautiful. I wanted to hear him whisper into my ear. To touch him. To make him mine. I even wanted to lock him in a little dark room. A space where only I could have him. But I was terrified. Terrified that he'd find out I was an Omega. Even more terrified he'd learn how I felt about him. Until I met my boyfriend, William, who just so happened to share my brother's full name. He would gently touch my forehead and say with concern, "Your temperature's way too high. Are you sure you have to go?" William was strikingly handsome and incredibly gentle. The kind of person it's hard not to like. Compared to the fear and respect I felt toward my brother, William felt much easier to approach. His eyes were full of concern. Feeling guilty, I gave a small nod and said, "He's my brother. I can't not go." William looked down at me, his fingers tracing lightly along the back of my neck, right over my scent glands. My stomach tightened. I nearly lost my footing. But he didn't stop. In fact, his touch only grew firmer. I sucked in a breath, nearly letting out a sound. William's expression stayed unreadable, shadowed and calm. Just as I started to panic, wondering if he had noticed anything, he finally spoke. Unhurriedly. "All right. But you have to wait for me to pick you up. I don't feel comfortable letting you go like this." Relief washed over me. Gripping the hem of his shirt, I teased, "Relax. I know my own body." When I got out of the car, the glands on my neck started to heat up for no reason. A strange, tingling itch spread from that spot. Maybe it was still swollen from the way William had touched it. I didn't think too much of it. Before I left, William reminded me with care. "Did you take your meds?" I did. "William, I'll wait for you tonight." "Okay." He said yes. I turned toward the door and walked straight into a solid chest. A wave of powerful alpha pheromones hit me like a wall. My knees buckled instantly, and I fell into the man's arms. A familiar voice spoke next to my ear. Rough. Low. and unmistakably demanding. Mason. Was that guy just now your roommate? Aren't you going to introduce him to your brother? 2. I hadn't expected to run straight into my brother as soon as I got out of the car. The words, my boyfriend William, stuck in my throat and never made it out. Even setting aside the name coincidence, if he found out I had a boyfriend, he'd definitely suspect I'd already presented. Guilt flooded me. And I couldn't meet his eyes. I instinctively tried to step back. That reaction seemed to set him off. His arm tightened around my waist, holding me even closer. He repeated. What, are you hiding something from your brother? Something you don't want me to know? I panicked and glanced around quickly, making sure the door was shut tight and that my boyfriend wouldn't just walk out. Only then did I answer. Cautiously. He's just a roommate. Brother. Why, you're standing too close. His scent was overwhelming. Strong enough to drown me. I knew it wasn't intentional. He didn't know I was an Omega. That's why he didn't bother to hold it back. He asked again. Voice cold and low. Is that so? Just a roommate? Nothing else? I nodded over and over. Of course. Who else could it be? If you don't believe me, I can call him out and you can ask him yourself. He didn't answer. Just looked down at me. And when our eyes met, his pheromones surged even stronger. He looked angry. But why? My palms were clenched in nervous fists. But his scent was already pushing against my every breath. I turned my head and tried to breathe around it, panting lightly, trying to escape just enough to stay sane. I decided to play it off, acting a little sulky. You didn't even come to pick me up, so why are you so focused on other people? I'm getting jealous. His brow eased slightly. That's when he finally seemed to notice something was wrong. He touched my forehead and frowned. Jealous? Wait, why are you burning up? Silly. Did you take any medicine? He thought it was just a regular fever. I'd always been frail. After he took me in, he'd gotten used to pouring water, handing me cold meds, doing everything for me. Worried he'd miss his own birthday party, I forced myself to smile and said, I'm fine now. Today's your big day. You're the star, how could you waste time babysitting me in a lounge? Even though the glands on my neck were itching like mad, I wanted nothing more than to grab his hand and press it there. But he was so worried. He kept frowning. In the end, I had to practically push him out into the ballroom. Are you really okay? He asked again. If it gets worse, I'll have the driver take you to the hospital. If I stayed around him any longer, I might not be able to stop my pheromones from leaking. The party was filled with my brother's friends and business associates. And plenty of alphas. The mix of scents in the room made things worse for me. But he was surrounded by people. So I slipped away to his room, hoping to use his alpha pheromones to suppress mine. And also to prepare a little birthday surprise. However, the moment I opened his bedroom door, a wave of strong alpha pheromones crashed into me. It hit my scent glands like a shock. My vision blurred. My knees buckled. I dropped to the floor. A strange sensation spread from deep in my core. No. His pheromones were too strong. Just being in the room had triggered my heat. I let out a muffled whimper. And with trembling hands, reached for my phone. I could already feel my scent leaking. I couldn't let him find out. He'd hate me. I had to call my boyfriend. Frantically, I dialed. The call connected almost immediately. Before he could say anything, I gasped into the phone, my breath shaking. William, my heat started. Please come get me. I don't feel good. 3. I shoved the phone back into my pocket, scrambling to get off the floor and sneak out. But my brother's scent was everywhere. Unable to help myself, I grabbed one of his shirts, buried my face in it, and inhaled deeply. I murmured to myself, dazed, I love it. I really love the way you smell, brother. A wave surged inside me, and I dropped the shirt in a panic. I rushed toward the door and yanked it open. But I only made it a few steps before someone yanked me into their arms. My head smacked into a firm chest. A breath of warmth brushed past my ear. I panicked and tried to break free. But then a pair of strong hands found the back of my neck, right where it ached the most. My scent glands were already swollen and sensitive. His fingers brushed over them, and I gasped, collapsing slightly, panting desperately. I cried out, William, I need it, please mark me, please. The grip on my neck tightened abruptly. A low, raspy voice whispered right by my ear. Mason. Who are you calling for? In my daze, I mumbled. Are you, brother? Or William? A cold laugh echoed above me. He mocked. What's the difference? Then he grabbed my chin, roughly forcing my face upward. His veins bulged along his neck. His jaw clenched. He growled through gritted teeth. Look carefully. Still can't figure out what's going on. Let me help you. He shoved me against the wall. I blinked, dazed. Was this the heat messing with my head? Was this really him? I licked my lips. Just hearing his voice, just seeing his face. My knees gave out again. My whole body ached for him. It had to be a dream. A very good dream. Which meant I could do whatever I wanted. Right? I gripped the arm that was holding my chin. My gaze locked on his face. I whispered, teasing. Who are you again? I don't know you. Maybe give me a kiss, then I'll remember. I slid my fingers along the front of his thin dress shirt, playing with him without the slightest fear. He clenched his jaw harder. And through his teeth, he growled. Is that so? Then you'd better get ready. You'll find out exactly who I am. 4. When my brother threw me onto the bed, that's when I realized something was seriously wrong. That powerful, distinct alpha scent, uniquely his, filled the air. I knew it too well. Suddenly, my scent glands started to throb, both numb and aching. His grip on my wrist was tight, burning like oil catching fire. Ah! I let out a pained cry. This couldn't be a dream. It felt far too real, like how he looked when he was genuinely angry. Unless I was never dreaming to begin with. The memory of how openly I released my pheromones in front of him just now came rushing back. Fear took over. My brother had found out I'm an Omega. Would he hate me now? I couldn't let that happen. Panicked, I covered my glands with trembling hands, desperate to block the scent I'd already released. Nervously, I backed up against the headboard, my voice shaky. Brother, you. He narrowed his eyes, watching my every move. The way I covered my neck, the way I kept backing away. His expression grew darker. Of course. Because I was an Omega. So he hated me now. My eyes filled with tears. Feeling wronged, I tried to climb off the bed, wanting to run, to hide, get away from him. But I'd barely moved when he grabbed my ankle and yanked me down, pinning me beneath him. His breath brushed hotly past my ear, his alpha pheromones surging toward my scent glands. They swept over me like a wave, stripping everything bare. But just as quickly, the scent disappeared. And after that, he took full control. His hand pressed firmly against my throat, fingertips grazing my swollen scent gland. Then he said, Slowly and clearly. Trying to run. Mason? It's too late now. My eyes widened. Breath caught. My body locked up. Overwhelmed by the thick cloud of pheromones. They were coming from all directions. I couldn't take it anymore. I was being drowned in his scent. He must hate me. That's why he was punishing me like this. My body hurt and buzzed with heat. I couldn't stop the sounds escaping me. Tears streamed down as I begged. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Brother. Please don't, it hurts, ah. Would I die here? In his arms? His grip was like a wolf tearing into its prey. His teeth grazed my throat. Maybe it was my pitiful sobbing. The way I was gasping for breath. But eventually, he loosened his hold just a little. Looking down at me, he said, "Do you understand what you did wrong?" I nodded frantically. Why, yes. I do. I shouldn't have snuck into your room. Shouldn't have smelled your clothes. Shouldn't have presented as an Omega. Shouldn't have made you hate me. Suddenly, he leaned in and bit down on my gland. A place no one had ever touched before. And now he claimed it. The moment he pierced it, a shudder ran through me. No sound came out. But I was trembling all over. His scent filled my glands completely. As if marking every inch of me. After a long silence, he wiped something from the corner of my mouth and growled. Clearly. You still don't understand what you did wrong. You need to be punished, thoroughly. 5. My brother was terrifying. The moonlight poured in from the window, spilling across the bed. And across me. My lips. My hands. My neck. Everything marked by him. But I still didn't understand. What had I done so wrong to deserve this? Until my phone suddenly rang. Brother William flashed across the screen. The pheromones my brother had just reined in flared back up instantly. His breath quickened. He leaned in, biting at my ear, and repeated those words in a mocking tone. Brother William. Whose number is that? You've got another brother? You sure have a lot of them. That was when I really knew I'd messed up. Because that one phone call earned me another full round of punishment. He said, "Didn't you say you wanted to be marked? Then let me do it." The phone kept ringing. And all the while, his scent kept surging into my glands. Until the battery finally died and the screen went black. Only then did he finish the mark. Tear-stained and dazed, I finally drifted off to sleep. I vaguely heard a knock at the door. And then his voice outside. "It's nothing. My little brother's not feeling well. I'm taking care of him." Is that a problem? So he hadn't abandoned me. He didn't hate me. But I didn't want to just be his little brother. I was brought into this home at 6 years old. People used to whisper, saying I was an illegitimate child. They looked at me with disdain and contempt. The worst was on William's birthday, when the family threw a banquet. Some other kids lured me outside, saying my brother was looking for me. Then they locked me in the backyard storage shed. No matter how much I cried or begged, they wouldn't let me out. It was dark and freezing at night. I tried climbing out through the vents, but they were too high. I fell and twisted my ankle. It hurt so bad I sobbed, calling out for my brother. And just like a superhero, he came for me. His eyes were red as he scooped me up and apologized. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mason. Does it still hurt?" I knew it wasn't his fault. But deep down, I used his guilt to my advantage. I blamed him anyway. I cried and said, "It hurts. Why did you take so long? They said I'm not your brother. Said I'm nothing but a stray. Wah. Swear to me. "Brother, swear I'll always be your one and only little brother." He said. "Okay. Mason will always be William's one and only, most beloved little brother." From that day on, he always defended me, chasing away anyone who dared to talk behind my back. He comforted me, protected me, always kept his promise. But now, I regretted it. I was there when he first presented. That night, everything had seemed normal. I had taken my bath and, as usual, sneaked into his bed to wait for him. He never let me sleep with him. But if I refused to leave, he never had the heart to kick me out either. But that night, he stayed in the bathroom far too long. When I finally sensed something was wrong, I pushed the door open. He was curled in the corner, the shower head lying on the ground, hot water still gushing out. His pajamas were a mess, his whole body flushed red. Even the corners of his eyes were tinted pink. He looked at me, weakly saying, "Mason, I feel really awful." Panicked, I rushed to him, and he immediately grabbed my wrist, pressing my hand against his cheek, staring at me intensely. "Mason, help me. Please." Of course I wanted to help. But just as suddenly, he shoved me back outside. No matter how much I knocked, he wouldn't let me in. Eventually, our adoptive parents came in with a family doctor. They pulled me away and asked if my brother had hurt me. Of course he hadn't. I didn't understand, until they explained he had presented. He was an alpha now. That night, what he needed was to mark someone. If it had been me, I wouldn't have minded. That version of my brother became the one I dreamed about every night. My adolescence, my every desire, centered around him. They say brothers shouldn't cross the line. But he's not my real brother. And I'm not really his little brother. So why can't I? I want to be his Omega. 6. So this was what being marked felt like. It hurt, badly, but felt too good. Because it was my first time. By the second half of the night, my whole body was burning up. My scent glands were swollen and numb, desperate for my brother's pheromones. But he just had to tease me. Only when I called out, "Brother," would he give me even a trace of his scent. I was so frustrated. I cursed at him. "You jerk. Bad brother. You're bullying me." He didn't deny it. Instead, as he wiped my face, he chuckled low by my ear and said, "While you still have energy, go ahead. Say whatever you want." I was completely dazed for the next few days, unable to be apart from him for even a moment. It felt like if I went too long without his pheromones, I'd die. They say desire is a double-edged sword. Those few days were pure indulgence. He didn't mention anything about what had happened at his birthday party. Which is why, when my boyfriend showed up at the door, I was completely caught off guard. My brother had taken a few days off from work. Once my fever finally broke, he left to catch up on business. Before he left, he told me, "I'll come back as early as I can. Wait for me." I was wearing his clothes, still covered in his scent, when my boyfriend found me. The moment he saw me, he rushed over and grabbed my hand, standing right in front of me. Frowning, he said, "Mason, what happened? Your phone's off. Why didn't you pick up? Why didn't you come find me? Why?" His words stopped abruptly. His gaze narrowed, lingering on me, and eventually on the back of my neck. He was a beta. In theory, he shouldn't be able to smell my scent. Still, I instinctively turned my body away, trying to block his view of my scent glands. I rushed to explain. I'm sorry. William. My phone broke. And I had a really high fever. I just started feeling better today. So I didn't text. Guilt made me swallow hard. When I looked up at him, his cold expression caught me completely off guard. He let out a quiet laugh and said, "Is that so?" I thought maybe Mason had run off with someone else, left me behind. His words made my heart clench with panic. He was supposed to pick me up the night of the birthday party. And now 3 whole days had passed. Had he been looking for me this whole time? I quickly hugged him, trying to sound playful. "What are you thinking? How could I ever abandon my boyfriend?" His gaze stayed fixed on me. Then, after a long pause, he suddenly reached out and touched the back of my neck. I flinched. My eyes widened. Instinctively, I tried to pull away, but he locked his arms around me. His fingers pressed gently over the faint bite mark on my scent gland. A soft laugh slipped out by my ear. Then he whispered, "Liar. Our Mason's a little liar." He had found out. Panicked, I struggled to break free. But William seemed to know I'd react this way. He grabbed my arm and started pulling me out the door. I was so startled that I blurted, Since you know I've been marked, why don't we just break up?" William suddenly froze. Just when I thought he might let me go, he didn't. Instead, a wave of pheromones, familiar, yet foreign, surged toward me. I gasped. My scent glands flared with stabbing pain. All strength left my body, and I collapsed into his arms. William's voice turned cool and flat. "Break up? Mason must still be burning up. Talking nonsense now." He brushed his cheek against mine, speaking in the same soft tone I used to love. "It's not a big deal. You just picked up another alpha's scent. I'll overwrite it, and it'll be like nothing happened." 7. What I never expected was that my boyfriend had been lying to me all along. He wasn't a beta. He was a full-fledged alpha. Because of my brother's mark, his pheromones felt like daggers all over my skin. I clutched my scent glands in pain, begging him to stop. But he only stroked my face gently, wiping away my tears. He spoke calmly. "You promised you'd be with me forever. Remember? Mason. You can't go back on that now." He took me home, laid me back on the bed. I cried so hard I couldn't see straight, gagging as I buried my face into his chest. Maybe he saw how miserable I really was. Because after frowning and touching my cheek, he finally withdrew his pheromones. The burning pain started to ease, but the soreness lingered. He reached out, wanting to soothe me, but I slapped his hand away in anger. While he stood frozen, stunned, I kicked him off the bed. Gritting my teeth, I yelled, "You lied to me. You said you were a beta." William just chuckled softly. He didn't even get mad. Instead, he knelt beside the bed, gently taking hold of the same leg I'd kicked him with. He massaged it and said, "Why would I lie to you, Mason? If that's what you want, I'll never release my pheromones again. I'll be your beta, just for you. Okay." I was stunned. I never imagined someone like him would say something like that. "You're insane," I growled. "I don't want to be with you anymore. Just get out." Now that the pain had subsided, I had the strength to stand my ground again. It was over. No use pretending. Let's just break up. I tried to push him away and get out of bed. But suddenly, William stood up. Before I could react, he grabbed my ankle, his breath brushing hot and fast against my skin. All that calm, gentle demeanor, Gone. His expression twisted with fury. You dare dump me? Who gave you permission? Was he out of his mind? Shocked, I shoved his chest, shouting, I can't be your possession. I have my own life, my brother. You still won't break up with me? No alpha would ever accept sharing an omega with another alpha. I thought I'd made myself clear. No way he'd still. William lowered his head, eyes dark and unreadable. Then he whispered, I'll be your second choice. Just don't leave me. I was speechless. He really was insane. Then he added, but if you stay with me, you can only wear my scent. I should have known he wouldn't give up so easily. I didn't even have to think. I was about to refuse when William said, if you won't agree. Mason, do you really want your brother to find out about us? I went silent. He had me. He really had something to threaten me with. He lowered his head and sank his teeth into the same spot my brother had already marked. Pheromones clashed. Two alpha scents battling for dominance in my body. William's brows furrowed in pain, his breath ragged as he tried to force out every trace of my brother's scent. I shook my head, sobbing, begging him to stop. But all he said was, your brother might not love you the way I do. So why is there no room for me in your heart? 8. He actually dared to speak badly about my brother. The moment I came to my senses, I kicked him off the bed, clutching the back of my neck. I cursed. Bastard. Jerk. You're insane. He got up from the floor, closed his eyes like a lovesick fool and took a deep breath. Not angry at all. He just smiled and said, say whatever you want. But Mason, I don't get it. Your brother's about to get married. Why are you still so hopelessly devoted to him? I opened my mouth to snap back, but froze. My brother. Getting married? I knew all those words, but together, they didn't make sense. Fuming, I grabbed his collar and shouted, you'll say anything just to piss me off, won't you? He just smiled and shamelessly pressed a gentle kiss to the corner of my lips. I frowned and kicked him again. He rubbed the spot I'd kicked and said, if you don't believe me, why not ask him yourself? As if remembering something, he suddenly let out a drawn-out, meaningful, oh, right. If you go to him now, and he sees that his mark has been overwritten, he might just. I slapped my hand over his mouth, flustered. Then I'll say you forced me. My brother, he won't be mad at me. The more I spoke, the softer my voice became. Because I knew his personality. Gentle on the surface, yes, but petty, vengeful, and absolutely unforgiving. If he found out someone had covered his mark. I swallowed hard. My hands trembled. But my boyfriend's next words hit even harder. 90% of this place is full of your stuff. Mason. You really think your brother won't notice what's going on between us? I turned pale instantly. Forget it. Just forget it. At this point, it was like I'd offered myself up to my brother on a silver platter. Then William added, but hey, can't you read entertainment headlines? Your beloved brother's in a political engagement. He deliberately twisted the knife deeper. Everyone says the bride and groom are a perfect match. Such a good-looking couple. Furious, I threw my phone. Not a single reply from him. So he was really getting married. And he still had the nerve to mark me? Scumbag. Even worse than William. Actually, they had the same name. Both monsters. I was so mad I ignored my brother entirely. Blocked him. Deleted him. Full on cold shoulder. I never thought he'd still be able to find me. And even worse, he found me just as I got out of William's car. Just as William grabbed my chin and kissed me. Mason. That cold, low voice came from behind me. My eyes widened. I whipped around in shock. Before I knew it, my arm was locked in his tight grip. I looked into his stormy, ice-cold eyes. And all I could think was, it's over. I'm done for. His gaze traveled from the corner of my lips, slowly, inch by inch, to the back of my neck. Then he said, with a dark smirk, cheating on me behind my back. Even erased my mark. You've got some guts, Mason. 9. Sometimes you really shouldn't get too cocky. I had my fun after blocking and deleting him. But now, all I felt was dread. There were people all around us. I could feel their eyes. And my face flushed hot. Then pale. Then hot again. I was just about to say something soft to get him to let go. But William beat me to it. Excuse me, he said. But grabbing my boyfriend's hand in public like this? Isn't that a bit much? Oh. Perfect. Now I was really doomed. I wanted to choke him on the spot. But there was nothing left to say. My brother was going to marry another Omega. Why did he even have the right to be mad at me? I pulled my arm back, hid behind my boyfriend, and said, Brother, we're A&O. We're different. Why should I carry your scent anymore? My boyfriend tensed beside me. His pheromones suddenly flared. Seriously? He couldn't keep it in for 1 second. My brother's expression darkened even more. His gaze finally turned to William. Alpha pheromones were naturally repelled by one another. Of course he'd noticed how William's scent was practically screaming for attention. He spoke slowly, clearly. Boyfriend? Mason. How come I never knew? When did you get a boyfriend? What's his name? I should do a background check. Can't let just anyone near you. I felt a vein throb in my temple. I rushed to stand between them. Panicked. No. William didn't even know my brother's name. If he found out. If he realized. My knees were already trembling. Terrified. I tried to separate them. This has nothing to do with you. If you're so free, maybe you should go investigate your fiancé. I was nervous. But the more I spoke, the more wronged I felt. He marked me. And now he was getting married to someone else. What did that make me? Was I just a tool to get through his heat? My brother squinted at me, veins bulging at his neck. But instead of backing off, he took a step forward and demanded, Who told you that? I snapped. Does it matter who said it? Brother. I hate you. I don't want you anymore. I shouted and yanked William toward the car. I couldn't stay there another second. If either of them said one more thing, I was toast. I rushed William to drive. In the rearview mirror, he looked utterly pleased with himself. I knew it. Mason. You love me more. He said. Let's go. Forget about him. Okay. My heart skipped a beat. I turned my face away, feeling guilty. But still, hearing him say he loved me, I couldn't help but feel a little warm inside. He treated me well. Affection builds over time. How could I not feel something for him? But then, there was still my brother. The one I'd always longed for. The one I'd dreamed about for years. In the moment I turned my head, I caught a glimpse of my brother's gaze from the car window. Wild and intense like a wolf's. Panic seized my chest. I had a very bad feeling. Sure enough, A violent crash came from the driver's side. I screamed as the car spun. The impact knocked me clean off the back seat. The vehicle skidded before finally stopping by the roadside. The back door was yanked open. And my brother's voice cut through the chaos like a blade of ice. Don't want me? Keep dreaming. 10. I hadn't fully come to my senses from the dizziness yet, when my boyfriend rushed out of the car. And then my brother and he started fighting. I staggered out of the back seat. Just barely made it outside, when the overwhelming flood of pheromones hit me like a tidal wave. My legs went weak, and I collapsed to the ground. A scorching heat rolled through my lower abdomen. The two different pheromones inside me were also clashing fiercely, making my head spin. The gland that had been marked twice was swelling terribly. The first mark wasn't completely overwritten, so the two pheromones were refusing to give up. The conflict raged on, making me sweat profusely and writhe in pain. I trembled, clutching my lower belly, and begged, "Stop fighting. Please stop. Brother, you already have a fiancé. Why won't you let me be?" The air was thick with the scent of blood. My brother wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and spoke deliberately, word by word. "No. Today. I went to break off the engagement. I never acknowledged any fiancé. I hate all Omegas. But I like Mason. I like you. The person. Damn." I was stunned, speechless. Was that even allowed? Before I could fully process the shock, my brother pressed on. "I'm deeply devoted to Mason. But Mason. Between him and me, who do you really like?" The sky was falling. Why couldn't I like both of them? What kind of cruel fate was this? There was no way I could say that to either of them. I glanced sideways at my boyfriend's red-rimmed eyes. With just a few words from my brother, he was already caught up in the whole "who do you like more" mess. My scalp felt like it was exploding. I heard him mutter softly, "Mason. Who is replacing who?" My heart twisted in pain. His face bore fresh wounds, but he paid no mind to them. He stubbornly locked eyes with me, as if I spoke the answer, he would shatter. I opened my mouth to say something, but no words came out. Suddenly, my gland throbbed sharply, and then everything went black. I fainted. In the haze, I felt a wicked fire burn through me, making me unbearably restless. I whimpered in discomfort. My mind was filled with them. First my brother, then my boyfriend, until a cold sensation flooded my gland. When I woke up, I smelled disinfectant in the air. I thought maybe my brother and boyfriend had beaten me up so badly that I ended up in the hospital. But when I opened my eyes, I realized I wasn't hurt at all. Instead, my brother and boyfriend, both of their faces were swollen like pigs. Neither had gotten the better of the other. I twitched in fear a little, but as soon as they saw I was awake, they rushed over with worried faces. My brother reached out and touched my cheek, still in pain. My boyfriend cautiously took my hand. "Sorry." I was full of questions, confused if the blackout was a dream or not. But looking at their bruised and battered faces, it seemed very real. I tentatively asked, Why am I in the hospital?" My brother frowned first, then glared fiercely at my boyfriend. "Your pheromone disorder flared up." I blinked in confusion. "Huh?" he said. "Ha. That's all your boyfriend's fault. Because you developed late. Your glands are weaker than usual Omegas. For other Omegas, having a mark overwritten is already very painful. Not to mention you. Now you have 2 marks on your glands, 2 alpha's pheromones inside you. So." My temples throbbed rapidly. I repeated, "So?" My boyfriend shamelessly rubbed my hand. grinning mischievously and said, "So now you can't abandon either of us. During your heat, you need both our pheromones. Otherwise, you'll be unsatisfied and burning with desire. You need both. You can't abandon either." I was horrified. I covered my backside and tried to escape. But the two of them each grabbed one of my legs and pulled me down onto the sofa. Their eyes burned with unspoken desire as they said almost in unison, "Sometimes, you don't have to make things so clear-cut. Either way, you belong to us. Mason. Just give in." I looked at them in terror. How could they come to an agreement about this? No fight? Just a joint claim?